What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Chris Margada, back with Margada Mayhem, and today we're going to do a follow-up on the fuel filter change. I didn't have a chance the other day to do the actual inline filter. Like I said, I work a full-time job, so we're going to follow up with that inline filter. Alright, so what we got is a 2001 Case 90XT. And I went and bought me a cheap shop light from Walmart. They had them on sale for 14 bucks. For what I'm doing out here, it should work pretty good. I got me a little tent from Harbor Freight. So let's get down to business. Okay, last video we did the fuel filter, which is right there. Okay, we changed it out, and then now we've got to get down in here and change the inline filter. So the inline filter is right there. So as is most of them, you're going to have a rubber filter, a rubber line right there with a, this one happens to have a clamp, hose clamp with looks like a Phillips head, and then up here you can see where it attaches there on that side. So it looks to me like it may be easier to take it off up here, and then that way we can get it loose, pull the whole line back, and then take that part loose. Tools, just a Phillips head, and I've got my drill with a Phillips head on it. Hopefully that'll make it easy to get one of them off. But anyway, let's get to it. Get my pop socket here. See if I can find us a spot to attach to. Let's see. See if I can attach it to this fuel line right here with my pop socket. I know it'll attach. Just a matter if I can get the right angle or not. It's not bad. Let's aim it that way a little bit. See if it'll stay there. Alright, so let's get down in here. We got one right there, of course. It's gonna be a bad angle, like always. Try to reach my other hand in here, see if I can turn it. Oh, imagine that. So it looks like this one was put on with a flathead screwdriver, and then the other one up here was done with a Phillips head. So since you already had the Phillips head, let's just try to get that one first. Okay, not too tight, good. Now, if y'all know, on these, you're much better off loosening them really good, because generally speaking the seals are all really tight. So what I did was I went ahead and loosened that one. Okay, now I thought somebody would have had them all with the same type of bit, but no, of course not. That's how it works. Other one was a flathead. I think I have a flathead screwdriver out here already. I was using for something else. Got one right here. Got a 12-inch. That's the only thing that's 12 inches. Okay, let's try this again. Now, like I said with that G-mag, it's got a super strong magnet. So once you get it in place, it'll hold. Just a matter if you got the right angle or not. Okay. Now we're going to try to go ahead and get the other one off. Try to make this video short and sweet. Hopefully the tip of this one fits. Alright, reach my arm back down that side of here again. trying to turn this, get a little better angle. Let's see. It is absolutely freezing out here. It's about 30, low 30s. We got a bunch of snow the other day. Well, yesterday and the day before. So, alright. Now I want to be careful not to push the gasket too far, or the hose clamp too far down, because if I get it too far off, it can end up sliding way down on top of that line and I won't be able to reach it. Now before I get too far, I just saw something. This hose is nasty. A lot of gunk all around and dirt all around the hose. So what I'm going to try to do is, before I get it completely loose, I'm going to clean the bottom of the filter off some, get some of the loose dirt and debris off. Obvious reason, because you don't want to get that crap in your fuel line and then put it right back into that brand new fuel filter that you purchased. So I'm just going around real easy, wiping off the line around it, and then once we get the line loose, I'll inspect it, make sure it's not dry rotted. Okay, so I think we're good there. I'm going to take the screwdriver, hold it still with one hand, and then pry it loose with the screwdriver. We about got it. So, okay, now the fuel is draining out, which in the space we're in, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. I don't have any way to actually stop it. So let's get up here. Okay, now we got to get this hose off. So I'm going to attempt to put that right there, around it, without hitting the phone too much. I do have a set of picks if I can't get it with this. Other one came off pretty easy. I'm trying to stick the screwdriver in and then turn it a little bit. A lot of times that'll break that seal, you know, where it's been sitting for a while. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's finally breaking loose. Anyway. Alright, now we got it broken loose. Let's see if we can reach our hand inside of here and pull it off. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, stuck in the bottom side some more, so let's see if I can stick this on the back side here. These rubber gaskets like to get stuck. They're not gaskets, rubber hoses. I like to get stuck. Okay, let's try. Got my right hand pulling opposite side of the hose. I'm going to take my left hand and maybe that hose clamp is not loose enough. So let's try to turn it back around. No, that seems plenty loose. But as we all know, sometimes there's a barb on the end of some of these fittings, which is why you usually like to get them really loose to begin with, so you don't get yourself in the situation I'm in. See if I can spin her around. Okay, so there it goes past that part, so that should be good. Seems to be stuck right here. And I'm guessing there's a barb under this hose. Oh, drop my screwdriver. Let's try this again. There we go. So there it is. Inspect it a little bit, see what it looks like. Fuel line does not look dry rotted. It doesn't look bad. But what I think I might do is go ahead, go to Advanced Auto Parts. Alright, here we are at the bottom side of that line. As you can see, it runs up through the skid steer to the fuel filter, and then comes back down to this gate valve right there, and that's where the bottom side of the line attaches. So we need to take that hose clamp off, and in order to get it off, I went and got me an open-ended wrench for like attachments for like Phillips heads and all that. They weren't good for hose clamps and things like that, because the fitting actually goes right on there. So we're going to stick our flashlight down here, right on that valve, and then it's really tight. I can potentially try to get it from the top, but it would be really hard. And even from this angle, I can't even see the top part of the hose clamp. Okay, I'm on there and loosening, I believe. Feels like I'm loosening it. Yeah. Taking a hose off.
Oh, Nina's character did just confirm that she is with child. Oh, I won't talk.
Alright, so got that all. I think I got it loose. Now let's take our screwdriver and see if we can get this thing to pop loose. This is gonna be a lot of fun trying to put that thing back on. That's all I know. Because this is a really tight area to get into anyway. So the hose clamp is loose, and looks like it is gonna be a lot of fun trying to get that thing back on. So I probably just created work for myself, but like I said, I mean, right now, trying to change all, there it went. So I got it loose. It was attached to this right here. That's going to suck to put back on, I can tell you that much. While we're down here, let's go ahead. I just used a big long screwdriver. It's probably about 14, 16-inch screwdriver total length. And while I'm in here, I'm just going to try to wipe that fitting off, get some of that dirt off. Let's go to the top side and pull the fuel line. That was fun. That's going to suck trying to get it off, or put it back on. Getting it off is usually easier. a lot of times. Putting it back on is a whole different story. I guess what I'll have to do is I'll have to heat the end of that tube up, put it in some hot water, so it's a little more pliable. Maybe lube it up a little bit so that when we go to stick it back on, it slides on easier. So let's see, that line came up right here, so it should be right here. Now that's your old fuel line. It goes from your fuel tank to your inline filter. And we're going to replace that. And of course the hose clamp fell off, so I'll just find me another hose clamp and put it on. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and replace that. We'll be back with the next part of the video for that. Okay, we're back after going to get the tube or the gas line. Okay, now the old gas line is hard, not very flexible. Let me see if I can show you here. It's stiff, not very flexible. I mean, it's flexible, but when you see the new hose here in a second, you'll see what I mean. The new hose, I mean, it's collapsed in the middle, way softer, okay? Old hose was really rigid and hard. Just goes to show you how old that hose was. It probably didn't have a lot of life left in it. So just one of those things where if you're already doing the hard work and replacing the inline filter, now if you just replace it, yeah, you don't want to go ahead and put a new one on, but this is old, so why put the old hose back on when you have the option to put a brand new hose on? So what we're going to do is take and duplicate what we had. Okay, we had this piece, so we're going to cut a piece of hose off, run that length. Okay, so got my tubing cutters, use it for PEX or any kind of tubing. I'm going to put it right up there, and on this hose, something like this, it's not got to be exact. It doesn't have to be exact, as long as it reaches and gives you your total length. I'm going to put that down before I finish doing this. Okay, there's one piece. Okay, then we're going to take the old hose, the larger section, put it up to here, and I'm going to go just a hair longer. I know rubber hoses tend to swell. I'm going to run my hand down. What I'm doing is I'm starting here and I'm holding it and running my hand down. And I've already pre-cleaned the hose, trying to get most of the dirt off, and I'm running my hand down to the other side. Keep it as close as possible for measurement. And then I'm going to put this back on here. Now, like I said, I can go a little bit longer on this. It's not going to hurt anything to be a little bit long for this particular application. Now, there are going to be some times where you got to be exact because you don't have enough space. And what I'm going to do this time, instead of trying to take everything off in individual sections, I'm going to put it all back together as one piece and then feed it back down to the bottom and put it in down there. Now, the reason I believe that will be easier is because I'm not trying to put it all together in individual pieces. I can do it all at one time and feed it back up over here. So that's what we're going to do. So let's find the arrow. All your fuel filters should have an arrow. Now see, this arrow is right there, which is pointed down. So we want to make sure that's pointed up. Okay, so we'll take our short piece that we had and go ahead and slide it on there. Now I was gonna, as I mentioned before, get a piece of maybe like some hot water to put in there. That is a trick you can use for PEX pipe or any kind of tubing. You can take some hot water or warm water, run it in there to help soften it. But after messing with it and buying the new hose, finding out the new hose is way softer, it's not necessary. It just so happened that the old hose was very stiff and rigid, so I assumed the new hose is going to be the same way, but not even close, which is good. That'll help us feed it onto the bottom section. Okay, I'm trying to get that on there. I got this is the old one. I gotta get this off. Get the old hose clamp. Now I'm trying to keep my hands clean as I mess with the hoses so I don't get anything contaminants in there. Okay, just feed that on there. Now when I put this back, I want to try to make sure that I put it on so that if I have to service it later, I can get to it easily and not make work harder for myself, right? Because I'm the one doing it. So let's get this thing not. There we go, get it, position it good. Now when you're tightening, if you noticed, when you're tightening a hose, whether PEX or whatever it is, you see how much space you have here. So you want to make sure that you give yourself enough room, about 1/8 of an inch, to allow yourself to get a good bite, and you want to make sure that your clamp is actually straight and not crooked. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Tighten this one there, good. And you don't have to crush it down, just till it's snug. So what I'm saying is like, when you go to put your hose on, your hose clamp, you don't want it like, you want it to be nice and straight like this. You don't want it angled. You want to tighten it like this, because if you tighten it like that, it may feel tight, but as anything shifts, this clamp is going to straighten back out, and when it does, it's going to be loose, and that's not going to be good. So we'll put this on here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and put the bottom part of the hose on first. Okay. Getting the hose up. Okay, with our hands off again. Now gonna slide this one on there like that. Always check to make sure that your cut end is nice and flat. That looks pretty flat. Let's see if we get this thing to focus in there. Nice and flat, pretty much. Okay, then we're going to slide. This end's going to go up, and this end's going to feed down. Now, make sure our arrow is good. Our arrow is pointing up. Let's see. Our arrow, as you can see, is pointing up. So we're going to feed this on here. Okay. Slide your next hose clamp up in place. And then we're going to try to get this one at a similar angle as that one. And let's get it started. About 1/8 of an inch, like I said, is usually good enough for something like this. Even with PEX pipe, about 1/8 of an inch. Now see, it's kind of crooked right there. Okay. Fitting is a bit crooked, so I want to straighten it out before I get it too tight. And get it nice and level at about where I want it. And then we'll start. I like to stick my thumb in the back of this thing. Start tightening that thing down. And there. It's snug. Okay, so now let's try to get this hose on that end of that right there. Okay. So what we're going to do is get a nice angle so you can see. Here's my mag, get that thing in place. Focused on there. Okay, now, so I can get our other hose clamp ready. Let's see. All right. Now when I do this, I'd rather have my hose clamp a little bit further down than not high enough, because you don't want it to fall off. Okay, just keep wiggling it. There, we're on there. Now, I'm going to take my left hand, get it over top, see if I can get this hose clamp in place. Slide it up. Okay. Right there. Again, we're about 1/8 of an inch, and notice I'm where I can actually service it. Okay, this tip is magnetic on this, and it's wanting to stick everything around in the skid steer. I can't actually get it on the worm here or hose clamp. Come on. There it goes. Okay, now I'm holding it in place until I get it nice and snug. Oh, sorry about that. I got the camera right next to where I'm working at, of course. Like I mentioned before, there's not a whole lot of room in these things. Okay, trying to get it good and snug because this is the fuel line, and I don't want fuel coming out. during a job or use. Okay, so there. Okay, we're gonna stop right there and be right back. Now I'm gonna try to get this hose right here, and I've got to feed it down below. The way this ran before was it ran down into. Okay, we're back next day. I could have finished this up last night, but I took my son to batting practice to hit a little bit. Anyway, we are going to try to finish up what we started last night, put it on the new fuel hose, and I've got to tighten that band right there. So I'm going to try to move this camera and still keep you in view. It's going to be difficult because I got to try to get both hands in there, most likely. One hand holding the band in place. This, I gotta figure out what that is. It's coming from up around where the fan is at, but I have not had a chance to investigate. It looks like a fan or a belt, which that wouldn't be good. That's gonna be hard because I gotta reach way back in there. But if I can just get one finger on the clamp, hold it in place, then I should be good to go. Okay, that's not really working. I do have a magnetic tip on this thing. I'm trying not to push it down. Yeah, that's what I was afraid was going to happen. So